In this presentation, we will continue on with our bank reconciliation for the first month of operations, or the first month that we have entered data into our accounting system within QuickBooks Online. We'll be reviewing the bank statement report at this time. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. We are in our Get Great Guitars file. If you missed the prior presentations, you can go back through those to see the bank reconciliation process. We now have the end result, that being the bank reconciliation report. So we've completed the first bank reconciliation for us, that being the month of January. Here is the report as of the end of January, January 31st, 2019. This report can look very intimidating, but part of the reason for that is that QuickBooks adds more detail than would be needed for just a standard bank reconciliation. So let's see what QuickBooks adds and what would be a standard bank reconciliation. What component of this is most necessary to be what we would consider to be a bank reconciliation? So if we go to the summary up top, we got the statement balance, the $25,000, the checks and payments, and then the deposits to get to the $109,415. All that's doing is basically summarizing what's on the bank statement. That's not really the bank reconciliation. That's the $25,000, the $136,000, $128,000, and the $51,000 to get to the $109,000 that's on the bank statement. So that information is basically just duplicating the summary of the activity that has cleared or is on the bank statement. So in other words, that's not really what we would consider as the reconciling items to bank reconciliation. The uncleared transactions, that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for those uncleared transactions. Those are the items that are not on the bank statement. So those are the ones that are not here. We didn't find them here. We didn't check them off. They're in the QuickBooks system. However, we did not check them off. That's the major component of the bank reconciliation. However, we don't want to see that just in lump sum $15,073. That tells us very little, because we need to know exactly what those are in order to have assurance that we have cleared everything that looks correct. So that is what we're looking for, but it's not really the format that we want to see it in. And then we've got the register balance as of January 31st. This is our balance on the bank, on the books, meaning if we go to the balance sheet, this is our book balance. And then these are the uncleared transactions after January 31st. Again, not really something that would typically be on the bank reconciliation. We're not really concerned with the transactions after the bank reconciliation date. We'll deal with that when we do the bank reconciliation for February. So this information not really necessary. Register balance as of January 16th. This just happened to be the date that we ran this in our practice problem. So again, not really necessary information. The main key here is that $15,073.87. Those are the unclear transactions as of the date of the reconciliation. So in other words, in summary, the bank reconciliation is just this $109,415 minus the outstanding amount, $15,073.83, to that $94,341.17. That's it. That's the bank reconciliation. So these three numbers are it. However, this $15,073, we want more detail than that. If you just gave this to like an auditor or something like that, they wouldn't be happy. They would say, it's a good summary of these three numbers, but we need to know what the detail is on that $15,073, because that's the information that's going to be relevant. If we scroll down, we get the detail. We're going to say, okay, here's the checks and payments they cleared. Again, this is just what's on the bank statement. These are the checks and payments. We already know that because they're on the bank statement and they cleared. So that's not really the information we really want. These are the deposits that cleared. Again, we already know that. Those are the deposits that cleared over here on the bank statement. So we're pretty good on that typically. The uncleared checks and payments, that's what we want. That's what we want to see. This number here and this uncleared deposit, if we were to subtract them out, this 16,029.33 minus the 955.50, that's that $15,073.83. That's the difference that we wanted to look at here. That's what makes it up. So that's the number that we're concerned with. We're going down here and saying, what are these items? These are the ones that concern us because they're in our books. We wrote checks. We wrote these checks and they didn't clear the bank. Why didn't they clear the bank? Well, as you can see on these checks, they're all as of the end of the month. So note that they probably cleared in February, and if they did, then that's fine. It's just a timing difference. We know exactly what the difference is, and therefore everything that we've entered in the system is correct. It's just that the bank doesn't quite know about these checks yet because they haven't cleared yet. So if that's the case, that's okay. If we want to verify these checks, we can do so. We can go onto the online banking and check our transactions, see if these checks cleared in February, or call the bank and see if they cleared in February. Remember, when we do the bank reconciliation, it's going to be sometime after the date that we choose to reconcile, meaning in this case, we did it in January 31st. That's the reconciliation date. We're going to do it sometime in February, hopefully. That's when we get the bank statement for January, sometime like mid-February. Then we'll do the bank reconciliation, and we can then check these outstanding checks by calling the bank and seeing if they cleared. And some of these checks may not clear even then. Like we might have an employee that tends to just hold on to a check for a month for some reason and doesn't cash it for a while. That's possible. Possible that this doesn't clear for a full month. And that would be okay. It's still just a timing difference. It's still in our system. It's still something we have spent and we expect to clear. And then if we scroll down here, we see the deposit. Now, there shouldn't be a whole lot of deposits that haven't cleared, because when we go to the bank and we put our money in the bank, we expect it to hit the checking account pretty soon. So 1 to 3 days. So this one was at the end of the month. It's still been 3 days. So we might want to call the bank, same thing, call them, check our online banking, see if it cleared in February. If it did, we're good. If it's not cleared by February, then of course we're concerned with it. So then these two items are the heart of the bank reconciliation if you're going to read this report. All the other stuff is a little bit probably stuff we don't necessarily need. Then we have the uncleared checks, payments after the cutoff date, after the bank reconciliation date. Again, not necessary really information typically. Uncleared deposits after the date of the bank reconciliation, not really part of the bank reconciliation in a traditional sense, we would think. So we're going to go up top, and then we're going to export this report as we have done in the past. I'm going to do it by simply printing it. We're going to print this report, I should say. Notice you have a few different options here. The printing option is a little bit different. We don't have the same exporting options as we have with other reports. So be careful with the bank reconciliations. You probably want to print them. Save them somewhere. Don't expect that you can go back to them in the same way that you might go to other reports all the time. I would print them, have a copy, attach that copy to the bank statement so that if there are any problems, you can go back and see these bank reconciliations. So we're going to go to the print item to do that. We're going to print it to the Qt PDF printer so it looks good. We're going to say print. We're going to put it on the desktop in the GGG folder. We're going to make a new file. This is just going to be section 9. So we're going to call it section 9 files. And we'll select that item. And I'm just going to call this bank rec for 01.31.19 and save that. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.